Cars 100% online wouldn't work, but we went to work, building an experience that lets you shop over 17,000 cars from home, creating a coast-to-coast network to deliver your car as soon as tomorrow, recruiting an army of customer advocates to make your experience incredible, and putting you in control of the whole thing with powerful technology. That's why we've become the nation's fastest growing retailer, because our customers love it. See for yourself at Carvana.com.
The new flavor is in production as we speak. We've been hyped about this for months, and the time is finally here. So let's go check it out. In here. This Galaxy Burst. This flavor has a burst of candy with a hint of tart, leaving your taste buds begging for more. It's fruity and creamy, yet sweet and tangy. After months of testing and formulation, this galactic flavor is sure to take over the galaxy. Now let's give it a try. So good.
Hey, what are you doing?
Oh, time to go.
RaiseEnergy.com. Rated mature audiences only. Viewer discretion is advised. Broadcasting from the Big Peach of Atlanta, Georgia. A show unfiltered, unscripted, raw. The Patriot Angle Podcast.
U.S. President Joe Biden held a much-anticipated 2-hour video call with Russian President Vladimir Putin on Tuesday, warning him that his country would face strong economic sanctions and other measures if Russia invades Ukraine.
Things we did not do in 2014, we are prepared to do now.
U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan told reporters after the video call that potential economic sanctions would exceed the measures imposed on Russia after it annexed Crimea from Ukraine in 2014, but added that he did not believe an invasion was imminent.
We still do not believe that President Putin has made a decision. What President Biden did today was lay out very clearly the consequences if he chooses to move. And ultimately, we will see in the days ahead through actions, not through words, what course of action Russia chooses to take.
The virtual meeting, which Sullivan said was mainly about Ukraine, comes at the lowest point for U.S.-Russian relations since the end of the Cold War. Economic sanctions, which one U.S. official said could target Russia's biggest banks and Moscow's ability to convert rubles into dollars and other currencies, are designed to dissuade Putin from using tens of thousands of troops gathered near the Ukrainian border to attack its southern neighbor. The Kremlin, which said before Tuesday's video call that it did not expect any breakthroughs, has denied harboring any intention to attack Ukraine. It has said its troop posture is defensive. Putin told Biden he wanted legally binding guarantees against what the Kremlin calls creeping NATO expansion, and complained about NATO attempts to, quote, develop Ukrainian territory. The virtual meeting ended with an agreement to continue talks and meet in person at some point, and both sides directed their teams to follow up on issues related to Ukraine.
Patriot Unfiltered Raw. All right, guys, welcome to today's show. Welcome to today's show. You know, we're talking about the latest news topic of the week here. The Biden slash Putin showdown, if you want to call it that. Guys, let me start out first and say that I don't think it's smart for, President Biden to even try to establish sanctions against Putin and the country of Russia. I do realize that, we are a country that believes in helping other countries in need. Don't get me wrong. We've always been a country like that. We've always been a country where we stand for other countries and protect them against their own enemies, right? But okay, let's talk about this story, okay? Because there's a lot of news platforms out there, guys, that don't get me wrong, they're delivering this story, right? They're giving the American people somewhat of their own opinions and knowledge of this story. But let me just say, maybe some of the news platforms, CNN, MSNBC, even conservative platforms such as Breitbart and Newsmax, here's what some of them are not saying, okay? That you know what? Scratch that, guys. Let me just say, this is not a good idea. Okay, I'm not going to sugarcoat this whole damn topic here. Okay, it's not a good idea that we put sanctions on Russia. It's not, guys. Sure, it's Ukraine and Russia. They're not strangers to one another. They've had conflicts over conflicts. I mean, that's like other countries like North and South Korea. There's a lot of relevance between these two countries of Ukraine and Russia. It's nothing new, guys. They've been doing this forever, between Russia and Ukraine. If they've had differences, they've had this, they've had that. But, I want to plug in the show here just in a little bit here between the actual phone call between Vladimir Putin, President Putin of Russia, and President Joe Biden of the United States. Okay, I'm going to plug that in a little bit because, there's high stakes with that phone call with Putin. Very, very high stakes. And I'll be first to say this on today's show. I do not think, folks, that it is a good idea for President Joe Biden to put sanctions against Russia and Vladimir Putin. Here's a question right here. If he were to put sanctions against Putin, okay, would that impose strong economic and other measures on Russia if it were to invade Ukraine? While Putin demand guarantees, folks, that NATO would not expand further eastward. That's what this is all about, folks. This is about NATO. Okay, I think it's always been about NATO. But Putin said he demanded guarantees that NATO would not expand further eastward. Now, if this is all about NATO, right? Hey, you got to rewind back to the Clinton era, right? Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton was the founding father of NATO. He created NATO along his successors of George W. Bush and Barack Obama. They constantly circled around that crap of NATO. And let me say, folks, I was never the biggest fan of NATO. I never was. But it's not a good idea, folks, that we play our part with Russia. Okay? Now, if Putin decides to basically invade, right, bring his Russian troops into the country of Ukraine, and decides to invade Ukraine, then, folks, what I'm about to say may upset some, or may some agree with me. But isn't that their own choice, folks? Now, if we become a country that does nothing, and we choose not to help Ukraine, that is our choice, right? But, I think we should start helping when they think that they need help from us. Let's worry about our crisis here. Let's worry about our own crisis that this president has created. Now, I know it's going to piss a lot of people off. Like, whoa, Mike. That's not patriotic. That's un-American. Well, I can tell you what's un-American. What's un-American is when you have a president that does not do anything about his own crisis that he's creating in this country. He's creating a immigration crisis. He's creating a border crisis. He's creating an economic crisis. He's messing around with our supply chain industry. Let's worry about those crises first before we worry about other countries. See, I've been saying this for years, okay? And I've been just starting to say this on the podcast here, that we should worry about our own crises here in our homelands rather than worrying about other countries' conflicts. Okay, that's their conflicts. Okay, you could say I'm being cruel. You could say I'm being ignorant. You can call me for whatever you want to call me. Okay, because that's your opinion. That's what makes America great. We live under our own opinions and thoughts. Okay, it's my own opinion and my own thought. And I'm allowed to say this over airways because it's my First Amendment right. Let's worry about our own crisis before we start worrying about others. Because when we start worrying about others, there goes more national debt that's piled onto our country. I mean, we've been trying to pay forward our national debt for decades. Afghanistan, Iraq, crisis wars between the U.S. I mean, we're still paying for that crap. I mean, does this president want to pile on more of that garbage? I mean, it seems like it, right? It seems like this president doesn't care. I said it the other day when PJ was on my show the other day ago, right? Episode 177. I hope y'all tuned into that on Spotify, Google, or Apple. If not, you can check it out on my website, patriotanglepodcast.com. The episode is in there on any of those three platforms. I highly recommend checking that website because it's always a privilege having that man on my show, PJ. It's got a lot of good knowledge and great content on his platforms of Archangel Protective Intelligence. But, when PJ and I were discussing things on the episode prior to this, we got into Biden's own crisis. He's a president, folks, becoming very irresponsible with decision making. And we're seeing that every single day. Now, Biden's probably one of his biggest, if you want to say, struggles during his administration have been what's going on right now in our own country. Crisis after crisis after crisis after crisis. I just said that just as I opened up the show. Borders, immigration, supply chain industry, everything that's going on wrong in this country is through the leadership of Joe Biden and what he's creating in this country. A disaster. Oh, you say build back better. Build back what, Joe? You're bankrupting us. I mean, I had to get a glass of water, guys, because this is one of those episodes. But, what is this president doing? Now he wants to take on Vladimir Putin? I'm sure people in Russia are pretty much laughing at this guy. I mean, this president will probably go down in American history as one of the worst presidents, not only in modern day times, but in political history, folks. I mean, this is pretty bad, pretty damn bad. And I want to play basically a plug-in here of just between Biden and Putin. Now, this plug-in is from Sky News, guys. So, bear with me as I plug this in, guys. Now, as I plug this in, you're going to see what I'm exactly talking about.
That's Poland, Belarus, and Ukraine. But the main concern is that Russia could be preparing for an invasion of Ukraine. Well, a key location is in Yelnya. That's just 125 kilometers east of the border with Belarus and 230 kilometers north of Ukraine. Satellite images purport to show Russian military units, including tanks, armored personnel vehicles, and self-propelled artillery. Russia insists it's all part of a normal training exercise. To the south, the US and others have been concerned about movement near the Russian city of Voronezh. Around 160 kilometers from the border with Ukraine, movement of military hardware and troops at the Pogonova training facility has been ongoing. Again, Russia insisted this was due to a large training exercise. Well, the heightened tensions come almost 8 years on from Russia's annexation of Crimea. In Novozern, in the Yevpatoria region, 80 miles from the Ukrainian border, satellite imagery shows a buildup of more military hardware. Russia announced it would deploy a new paratroop regiment to the region last month. Our Moscow correspondent Diana Magne has this report.
Hello. Добрый день.
The stakes for this video call could not be higher.
We didn't get to see one another at the G20. I hope next time we meet, we do it in person.
The Kremlin has already warned.
All right, guys, I'm going to stop right there. Did you hear just that brief phone call between Putin and Biden, right? Biden was like, hello, puts his hands up. Anybody seen that video? He puts his hands up like he's big almighty Joe, right? I mean, everybody knows this guy's a laughingstock. How he got elected is on me. I mean, but this folks, this is going to be a big deal. Now, if Joe Biden puts the sanctions on Russia with with this Ukraine type thing, what is that going to do with the United States? What is it going to do? I mean, Moscow, folks, knows that their biggest export of natural gas, fossil fuels, and other natural exports are at risk. They know that. Moscow ain't stupid, folks. Folks, let me just say this. This is a country that is not stupid. They know what is at risk here. Now, if it is to exert itself, it has to when it can afford to do so. Let me repeat that again, folks. If it is to exert itself, it has to be when it can afford to do so. What I mean by that is 10 to 20 years from now, right? In 10 to 20 years from now, Russia's economy will be even bigger, an even bigger ruin than it currently is due to the trade and other economic changes that are happening worldwide. Russia is their economy, folks, is going to explode. Literally in good proportions, so to speak. Now, what I mean by that is that here's what this president should do. Okay, instead of listening to his advisors, because I don't know, folks. I'm still baffled on who the hell is literally running the show there at 16 Pennsylvania Avenue. Because we all know it's not Joe. Joe is not running the show at 16 Pennsylvania Avenue. Joe is literally, a puppet with the Democratic Party. We see that every single day. Joe is a puppet. And if they continue with this garbage, it's going to make a big impact on the United States. I can tell you right now. Unfortunately, for Ukraine, this is all happening with the weakest U.S. president in history. Yeah, Joe Biden is no Donald Trump, and we're all seeing that, folks, even with our own crisis here in our homeland. Carl Sagan literally needs to explain the West the consequences of a nuclear war and a nuclear winter if this were to happen. I mean, are we looking at a possible World War III if this ever happens? I hope not. But if Joe doesn't prepare himself responsibly, it could lead to that, folks. Like I said, unfortunately for Ukraine and other nearby allies of our country, this is all happening under the weakest United States president in history, because Joe is not a strong president, very weak. The world stage knows that. I'm sure they have laughter and smiles under their faces when they see Joe literally talking in front of a press conference. It's embarrassing. It's literally, folks, like I said, can 2024 come here fast enough? Because this president, folks, cannot lead for another 4 years after 2024. What he is doing to our own country is a disaster, literally a disaster, folks. Now, I want to plug in this last bit here before I take a break, folks, because you're going to want to listen to this. Listen to this article right here.
Будем очень четко излагать наши подходы к украинскому урегулированию.
All right, folks, I'm going to pause it right there, and I'll plug in a little bit more before I take my break. Literally, this is the Russian foreign minister, Sergei Lavrov, if I'm pronouncing that right, literally saying, we will clearly outline our approaches regarding the Ukrainian settlement, the necessity of the Ukraine regiment to fulfill clearly defined complements. Listen to more of this, guys.
Необходимости заставить киевский режим выполнять свои прямо записанные черным по белому обязательства в рамках Минского комплекса мер. Больше, судя по...
Then he's going into saying, with the set of measures, apparently Kiev will not listen to anyone except for the United States of America. Oh, I wonder why, folks. Listen to more of it.
Всему Киев никого слушать не будет, кроме Соединенных Штатов Америки.
Мы у Харкові.
Monday was National Army Day in Ukraine, a chance for President Volodymyr Zelensky to show off some of the hardware that NATO has gifted his armed forces. Red rags to a bull as far as Russia is concerned.
If Vladimir Putin does decide to invade, it's hard to see what he would hope to achieve. Any intervention would be...
All right, folks, basically what this is it's all about grand supremacy. Grand supremacy of hardware, right? Military vehicles, military equipment. That's what this is all about. Folks, with all due respect, let Russia and Ukraine settle their differences between their two countries. Let America, let them settle this. This is all about grand supremacy, about the hardware that NATO was given to them. But we can't let that go by because NATO is affiliated with the United States. And we can't let that just slip right by. Why? Because that's how we are, folks. Literally, that's how we are. We can't let it happen. So we have to put our finger into it, our voice into it, and literally just see it as it is, right? We have to we have to butt into everybody's little problems. We have more problems in this country. We should start worrying about our own damn problems, folks, right? I mean, am I right or wrong? Be right back after these words.
I have a challenge for all of you. Go to every computer in your house, your mom's, your dad's, your sister, your brother's computer, and install Honey. Wait, Mom, before you check out, Do you have Honey installed?
What's Honey?
Oh, no. It's a free browser add-on that automatically applies coupon codes when you check out online.
So what's the catch?
There is no catch. My mom wants to buy these 3 jackets online. They cost $639. Before you check out, Mom, can you just open a new tab and then type in joinhoney.com? Now just click Add to Chrome. Perfect. Now hit Apply Coupon Code. Give Honey 5 seconds and boom! It found a coupon code for $221. We're literally about to check out without Honey. That is a sin. Install Honey. It's free and only takes 2 clicks to install. There's no reason not to go to joinhoney.com right now on every computer in your house.
Patriot Unfiltered Raw.
Grammarly does more than catch errors. With Grammarly, you can find really good, no, perfect words that make your writing sharp, or explicit, or excellent, or distinctive. As a matter of fact, for what it's worth, Grammarly can, yeah, that's long. We can get rid of that, and this, good, and this, or how about this? Grammarly helps you be concise. If your tone might make someone feel like this, Grammarly can remind you. It would help if you soften your tone. And if you need the support, Grammarly encourages you to write confidently. Because the better we all communicate, the better we connect. Grammarly, helping you connect. Go to Grammarly.com and download today.
All right, guys, I'm going to welcome back. Welcome back. I want to basically bring in this video call here between Biden and Putin. Yeah, Biden and Putin. Where are they at with the whole Ukraine? The heat on the Ukraine crisis, so to speak. Okay. But before I bring into that, I want to plug in another video of Kayleigh McEnany on Biden's call with Russia. Oh, you got to listen to this, folks. This is a little, here it is right now. Let me pause it right there. Before I go in, I'm getting a little excited, guys, because this show is a little heated today. It is. But before I get into this, guys, this is a video of literally the former press secretary under the Trump administration giving her views and her thoughts on President Biden between the video call with the Russian president. Check this out, guys.
Building behind him, Kayleigh McEnany, co-host of Outnumbered and former White House press secretary, and she's got a brand new book that comes out today. It's called For Such a Time as This, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit.
Thank you. Hey, good to join you guys. Congratulations on the book. Thank you.
So today they're going to have a secured video call. The last time they talked, our president said, you better stop with the ransomware attacks from Russia. They continue. So you wonder if Vladimir is going to actually be listening.
I don't think he will be listening to words. What Vladimir Putin understands is one thing, and it's action and it's strength. He understood when President Trump expelled 60 Russian intel officers. He understood when the consulate presence was shut down on the West Coast. He understood sanctions. He understood, as Robert O'Brien said, we've sanctioned more entities in Russia. There's virtually nothing left to sanction. That was the Trump actions. But now we've got Biden words, and we've also got Biden actions, like greenlighting Nord Stream 2. You brought it up, Brian, giving the hacking list. Like, these are off limits, but go hack these entities. It's essentially a green light. So, unfortunately, there haven't been a lot of tough actions on Russia, so I think the words will be hollow. I hope not, but we'll see.
But if the invasion takes place, I think President Biden knows he can't afford another foreign policy disaster, nor can his party. So think about the stakes, Kayleigh, and how much is scripted and how much isn't. How much was done in the preparation for this by staffers, or is this one of those things where it's head-to-head? We don't know how this is going to go.
Well, it's staffers that are preparing this, and Biden, of course, will be briefed and well prepared by his team. That being said, I mean, Putin's notorious for knowing how to push buttons, change things, and you have to be equipped, you have to be deft, you have to be on your feet, you have to know the games that Putin inevitably will play, and I'm not certain any of those words describe the current president and his capabilities on the world stage. Again, I want the best for our country. I hope he...
Yeah. Yeah, guys, I was going to plug in the video call, but I don't want to, because I think everybody knows where this is going, right? This is a president that I don't even think he knows the definition of the word sanctions to begin with. Kayla McEnany, right, the former White House press secretary, labeled that very, very accurately with this president. This president is no Donald Trump. Donald Trump knew what sanctions were. He did it so responsibly that actual world leaders respected him, took him for serious. Do you think that Putin is going to take Biden as serious as Donald Trump? Highly doubtful. Highly doubtful, guys. Now, this is the press briefing between a news reporter literally questioning the current press secretary, Jen Psaki. Check this out, guys.
Put out a big report about addressing corruption. The First Son's attorney said that he has finally divested from a Chinese investment fund controlled by state-owned entities. I was hoping you could commit to basic transparency about that transaction. The second question is, my colleague Miranda Devine has a new book out called The Laptop from Hell, and I was hoping that you could confirm that the laptop is indeed authentic and not Russian disinformation, as you seemed to suggest on Twitter last year.
Well, on the first, the president's son is not an employee of the federal government, so I'd point you to his representatives. And as it relates to the book, I've neither had the time nor interest in exploring or reading the book.
Well, that's news, so she won't answer questions.
Be right back, folks, after these words. Don't.
Mike Gardner, a host, unfiltered, unscripted, raw.
All right, guys, I'm back here on the show. Guys, what I want to say here, okay, is that we have to look at things responsibly, accurately, and we have to make the best decisions for our country first before we worry about other countries, guys. That's the way it should be, and that's the way it always should be. With that being said, guys, I'm going to close it out here. I think you understand where I'm going with this. If you want to leave me your comments, your concerns, leave me your comments and concerns on my Facebook page, whether it's the Patriot Angle Podcast or my Instagram page. You can also email me at patriotunfiltered1776@yahoo.com. And leave me a comment on my blog section on patriotanglepodcast.com. Guys, you could follow me on Spotify, Google, and Apple on all current and previous podcast episodes. Once again, guys, thank you for tuning into today's podcast, and we'll see you on the next one. Patriot Unfiltered Raw.
You just heard an episode of the Patriot Angle Podcast, an Anchor platform.